The Blues kicked off Asia Cup 2023 against the greatest rivals.
Got him! Another one!
Despite the unrelenting dark clouds, one thing was clear as day. India's batting effort raised as many concerns as it provided solutions.
Ishan Kishan, and it's a quality innings.
Posing burning questions that need to be answered as the team gets announced today. The World Cup looms large and they are set to decide the 15 torch bearers of over 1 billion hopes. Meanwhile, Hitman and his troops rally on. With the Super 4 spot locked, India will be keen to use every opportunity to test their mettle from here on and be World Cup ready.
Judgment Day arrives. Today is the day we will know what is the final 15 that will have the pleasure and privilege of trying to win the World Cup at home for India. And just under half an hour from now, we will hear once again from the Indian think tank, the chairman of Selectors, in what was a really nice press conference that was had a few weeks ago to tell us the Asia Cup squad. Today is when India announced their World Cup provisional squad with the big World Cup coming up at home. This is Selection Day, live on Star Sports. Hello and welcome. Stay tuned with us as we try and break down what that squad could look like, the big questions that still need to be answered as India have marched into the Super Fours of the Asia Cup. I've got two good men joining me from different parts of the world. Sanjay Manjrekar is in Sri Lanka, of course following the Indian team very closely. Tom Moody knows what World Cup fever is all about. He's a two-time World Cup winner himself. He's coached a team to a World Cup final. He's a 100-winning coach. Before I get to Sanjay, let me go to Tom first up. We had a nice chat to get an 18-man squad or a 17-man squad a few weeks ago, Tom. Today we have to trim it to 15, and you can't help but feel the sense of excitement when the Indian team announces a World Cup squad for a home campaign.
I think not only Indian fans, but the world is waiting for this decision because everyone knows that the significant threat that India, pose to any team in this World Cup. They're always dangerous, and also, especially being on home soil, and it's been some time since they've had a World Cup at home. So it's obvious a lot of expectation and excitement.
It's an event. Yes, please carry on, Tom.
No, I was just saying it's obviously a huge amount of anticipation and excitement. So, it's going to be a hard decision for the selectors because these things are difficult. Everyone's got their own opinion. You've got over 1 billion couch selectors out there in India, sort of knowing what they think the 15 should be. But at the end of the day, you need to make some hard calls.
You've perfectly given me the introduction to Sanjay Manjrekar, an excellent couch selector himself, but man who follows Indian cricket like few others. And following them in the Asia Cup, the little evidence that we have got, is this really a tough call, Sanjay, or is it, in your astute analysis, a pretty straightforward selection today?
I think it's going to be very straightforward. It's one of those World Cup selections where I think most people, the fans, know who the 15 are going to be. Just one or two places that people will wonder about, but I don't think you'll see any surprises in this particular World Cup selection. The team management and the selectors have shown their cards well before the announcement.
All right, well, we're going to have you covered, not just with the views and the analysis from Sanjay and Tom as we build up to that squad, but in Sri Lanka, we have our man on the ground again. It's so nice to talk to Tanay Tiwari, who finds himself exactly where the action is, and we will hear from Tanay. Right, you're there, Tanay. What's happening? Give us the latest. Okay, we're going to wait. I'm going to wait till I get Tanay. Let me see if I've got Tanay just yet. The message is following all the way to Sri Lanka. Sanjay, pass the message
in the
on.
Press conference hall, all in anticipation. There's a tense air, but that's just in anticipation of what is going to happen. Of course, the chief selector Ajit Agarkar and the Indian captain Rohit Sharma will address a press conference in just a bit from now. The reports have already started going out of here. The journalists are here. They're all talking. There's a lot of chatter. And there's a lot of pragmatic chatter around KL Rahul, especially after that Instagram post this morning where he said that he thanked the NCA staff and almost proclaimed the fact that he is absolutely fit and raring to go. And that's a big, big positive for Team India. Of course, there are question marks on who makes the playing 11, with KL Rahul and Ishan Kishan both in contention for that one spot. All of that remains to be seen, but right now there's a lot of anticipation here. There's a bit of nervous excitement, as is, I think, normal ahead of such a big World Cup squad announcement. We're of course waiting for the Indian captain and the chief selector Rohit Sharma and Ajit Agarkar, who should be here in just a while.
All right, get them in as soon as they're there. Thanks very much, Tanay. We're going to keep hearing from you. For now, we've got all our eyes on India's World Cup campaign. Yes, the Asia Cup has begun. We're learning so much about this team. It's going to be trimmed from 17 to 15 a little while from now. But what's happening with the Indian team? Let's have a look at our World Cup watch.
This is India's strongest one-day team since 2011.
That is a big claim by India's former head coach, and the Blues are into the final stages of their preparations leading up to the World Cup. The rain may have played spoilsport in the game against Pakistan, but there was still plenty of takeaways. It was a less than ideal start for Team India when Rohit Sharma fell to a peach of a delivery from Shaheen Afridi.
Got in! What a delivery! Two across, one back in. You beauty, Shah Afridi.
Both the icons fell prey to left-arm pace, something of a recurring theme for Team India. On the upside, Ishan Kishan stepped up in an unfamiliar role in the middle order. He scored at a strike rate of over 100 and stitched a 138-run stand with Hardik Pandya for the 5th wicket. Ishan Kishan bats left-handed, keeps wickets, and now has shown that he can bat in the middle order. Has he done enough to seal a spot in India's World Cup squad?
And that's a 50. Ishan Kishan, and it's a quality innings. It came in when the fast bowlers were on fire, and that's why everyone's standing up.
The rain interruption against Pakistan did not allow India to test him, and he missed the game against Nepal due to personal reasons. The rest of the bowlers, though, did get their time in the middle against Nepal. Spinner Ravindra Jadeja and Mohammad Siraj got 3 wickets each as India restricted Asia Cup debutants Nepal to just 230. Chasing a revised target of 145 in 23 overs, Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill scored unbeaten 50s to guide India to a 10-wicket win.
When we came here, in the back of our mind, we knew what our 15 is going to be like. But we were very clear in our mind that Asia Cup is not going to give us the complete picture of what the squad will be like, because there was only 2 games that we had to play. But luckily, we got to bat in the first game, and we bowled in this game. Yeah. That was a complete game for us. But yeah, a lot of things that we need to still understand what we need to do as a group.
Having qualified for the Super 4s, and with KL Rahul set to join the squad, India will use every opportunity to prepare for a successful Mission 2023.
Comprehensive win then for India last night against Nepal. Now, let's just have a look at what we expect this squad to look like, right? We're hearing from the chief selector and the captain in a little while from now. But that is the 15 we believe India are likely to go in with, which has room for KL Rahul, who's still not featured in the Asia Cup. They're waiting on full fitness. We expect him to join the team and be part of the Super 4. Surya Kumar Yadav is someone we are expecting to making in that 15. And there is room for Shardul Thakur, but not for Prasidh Krishna. So KL Rahul is there. Right, we're going to go to some of our selectors from around the Star Sports Network to see what they'd like to see in India's World Cup squad. Let's have a look.
My 15 for the World Cup, Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Ishan Kishan, Virat Kohli, Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja, Akshar Patel, Kuldeep Yadav, Bumrah, Shami, Shiraz, Shardul. That's the 15 for the World Cup. If one of the middle order batters get unfit, then Tilak Verma, and if one of the fast bowlers get unfit, it's Prasidh Krishna, and if one of the spinners get unfit, then it's Yajuvendra Chahal.
Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Ishan Kishan 3, Virat Kohli 4, KL Rahul 5, Hardik Pandya 6, Akshar Patel 7, Ravindra Jadeja 8. I mean, I'm not talking the batting order, I'm just giving numbers. 8, Kuldeep Yadav 9, Shami 10, Bumrah 11, Yajuvendra Chahal 12, Surya Kumar Yadav 13, Mohammad Siraj 14, Shardul Thakur 15.
So my 15 for the ODI World Cup is Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, Tilak Verma, Surya Kumar Yadav, KL Rahul, Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja, Yuzvendra Chahal, Kuldeep Yadav, Ishan Kishan, Shardul Thakur, Mohammad Siraj, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami.
All right, so you saw Piyush Chawla wanting an extra spinner in there. Krishnamacharya Srikanth as well wants Yuzvendra Chahal. Sanjay, let me go to you first up on whether that is something that you see happening at all.
I think the first squad that we saw that we put up as Star Sports is the squad that's going to be announced. I'm absolutely certain about it. Yes, there have been some people talking about Yuzvendra Chahal and Tilak Verma getting in, but it's going to be tough who they will displace. So the first graphic that came in will be the most likely squad for me. And I'd rather go for Mohammad Siraj than Shiraz.
As we look at that original squad, Tom, the one that we did pick out, which has Surya Kumar Yadav in it, has Shardul Thakur in it, is there something still missing? How happy would you be if that is indeed the squad that India announced in a little while from now?
I think it's a good squad, but to me, the biggest obvious hole in that squad is the depth of left-handers in that middle order. And when you're looking for balance in a squad, let alone a balance in 11, what you're needing is options for all situations. And what India don't want to face is a situation where Ishan Kishan's not playing and KL Rahul is a preferred keeper batsman. They then line up as a huge number of right-handers in that top six until Jadeja comes into the picture at number 7. So that to me is a concern, because an opposition that lines up nicely against right-hand batters may well be the difference in a tight contest. So I'd like to have seen Tilak Verma in that squad purely to give them some flexibility. But then you've got the dilemma: who does he leave out? Who do they leave out?
See, Ronak, sorry to jump in, but I think after the performance that we saw from Ishan Kishan, he becomes your left-hander in the middle. So you'll have 2 left-handers in the top 7, which isn't so bad. I don't see KL Rahul playing the first few World Cup matches because Ishan Kishan is fit. He's currently playing. He's in form, and KL Rahul hasn't played. That niggle, more than the main injury that he sustained during the IPL, has really hurt KL Rahul, because had he played the first game and got some runs, Ishan Kishan would not have been in the picture. But the kind of innings Ishan Kishan played, not only is he an obvious choice in the squad, your first choice keeper, he's going to be playing the first game as well in the playing 11, which means you've got 2 left-handers in the top 7, which is pretty good.
Yeah, interesting.
Can I interrupt?
Yes, Tom, go for it. Let's have some fun. Come on.
I just want to have a counter punch to that, and that is, I don't like decisions being made on the back of one innings the week before a team is announced. To me, that planning should have been done 6 to 12 months out. To suddenly, think that Ishan Kishan can bat in the middle order for India in a World Cup on the back of one innings, to me is, it's not really, long-term thinking and strategy with regards to, building the right balance.
Is there a counter allowed for a counter, or
only if you make it a good one? Take the gloves off, Manjrekar. Come on.
My counters are always good, Sir Ronak. It's about you. Is there time?
Go for it. Come on, I'll let you one more.
See, I don't see Ishan Kishan being a number 5 all the time. I think with Ishan Kishan in as a left-hander, and it's not just the one innings, it's his performances in one-day internationals of late. KL Rahul, this long absence from proper cricket is the concern, because this guy has a sensational record at number 5, and the innings against Pakistan, had it come against Nepal or some other team, I would not have been so gung-ho about Ishan Kishan in the playing 11. And I have no doubt after that innings and with KL Rahul's long absence, there's also a chance during the course of the tournament that Ishan Kishan might bat at number 3 and have Virat Kohli batting at number 4, because India will get more out of Virat Kohli batting at number 4 with the kind of athleticism that he has, the kind of passion that he has for running. Good enough?
That's a sensible point.
Yeah. The first one is made according to Tom. That's what Tom Moody is actually trying to say. But brilliant. You've heard perspectives from both sides. You can make up your own minds. We've put together an expert squad as well, you know, with all the wisdom that we have collectively on the Star Sports Network. Now, let's just see if there are any notable surprises here. Now, Yuzvendra Chahal is going to really bring in some debate and discussion, given it's a World Cup in India, and India have chosen just the one wrist spinner. They did have the one wrist spinner back in 2011 in Piyush Chawla too, but they had Yuvraj, they had Harbhajan, they had Ashwin, they had a lot of batters who could bowl, finger spin. Yuzvendra Chahal features in that, so that is something that we see. At the expense of a Shardul Thakur, yeah, Sanjay. So I guess that is one way of looking at it. Do India need the extra seamer, or can they actually go with an extra wrist spinner?
They'd rather go with a... In the playing 11, I'd like to see Mohammad Shami play ahead of Shardul Thakur. But again, I told you the team management and the selector have shown their hand in this Asia Cup selection, and Shardul Thakur seems to be very much part of their plans, purely because once Jadeja finishes at number 7, you've got a Kuldeep Yadav, you know, in a normal playing 11. I don't mind it, but I can understand the team management and selectors feeling that they could be a little short of batting, and hence Shardul Thakur comes in. So I don't see a place for Chahal unless their minds have changed in the last 1 week or so.
If you're coaching this Indian team, Tom, and you are part of picking an 11 game after game in a World Cup, does Shardul Thakur give you the sort of balance and confidence that you're looking for, that the idea of Shardul Thakur is supposed to give you?
Look, at the end of the day, I look at Shardul Thakur as neither a specialist bowler or a specialist batsman. He fits in that sort of neutral
What's the term for that, Tom?
I'm not sure. You're sort of expert in that area. But I feel that the issue with Shardul Thakur is he's not strong enough with the bat to bat 7, and you can't bank on his 10 overs. So therefore, I understand why India are leaning towards picking him, because their batting does fall away very quickly after that number 7 position. So they're trying to cover all their bases, particularly if you look at the way that 50-over cricket is played now and how it's trending. You know, there's a huge influence from T20 cricket that's overlapping into 50-over cricket. The urgency, the run rates have gone up, and therefore you need the depth, because suddenly if you're hollowed out in the power play in the first 10 overs and you've lost wickets, you can't really attack like you need to attack in that middle phase before the the death overs. So, you know, India is sort of caught in that position where they've got the luxury of 2 very, very good all-rounders in Hardik Pandya and Jadeja. But, you know, to me, Shardul Thakur doesn't really fit one, spot or the other. He sort of is in no man's land. But what he does do is presents a little bit of depth if you play him against a specialist bowler.
All right, that is a question they need answered. Now, you see Shardul Thakur featuring in India's 11 in the opening game against Pakistan, as well as last night against Nepal. It looks like the team likes to have the insurance that Shardul Thakur, or the idea of Shardul Thakur, gives us. Now, that's the experts squad that we showed you. We're hearing from Tom Moody and Sanjay Manjrekar. We had some fun. We have to get the fans involved. This is what this is all about. It's what Selection Day is all about. And let's see what the fans squad looks like, and if there are any real surprises in this, right? Let me run through it. Hello to Shikhar Dhawan, R. Ashwin, Sanju Samson. The fans have had their say, and they seem to be going in a very different direction to what we expect the Indian team management to announce in a little while from now. So you have Dhawan there, you have Ashwin there, all prolific performers at ICC events in the past, and you've got Yuzvendra Chahal. We've spoken enough about Chahal, but let's talk about Dhawan and Ashwin and Samson too. Right, Sanjay Manjrekar, Ravichandran Ashwin, you can go first.
Actually, I didn't want to comment on that selection because it's their choice. But there is a need for another spinner in the side, but I'm not sure there are too many exciting options there. We talked about Ashwin, Tom and myself, I remember in one of the shows that we did. But in the end, you know, the 15 that we saw, first up is going to be, the squad. So I don't see place for Ashwin, and certainly no place for Shikhar Dhawan.
Tom, you worked a lot with Shikhar Dhawan. There's Sanju Samson on that list too, is a reserve player at the Asia Cup. Any of those names where you think, why are the fans so keen on these guys in the 15, or do you sense that's just a little more sentiment and not necessarily what the team needs?
I think the Ashwin conversation is a very good conversation and a great point by the fans. And I think that it's certainly a name that would have been thrown around the selection table, for hours in discussion to try to find this final 15. And for me, I would personally think that Ashwin is a better option than Shardul Thakur. And I know that he's not a pace bowling all-rounder, but what he is he's a world-class all-rounder, Ashwin. So to me, just because you're replacing a spinning all-rounder with a pace all-rounder doesn't mean that, Ashwin can't play the role that a pace bowl or bowl in the overs that Shardul Thakur will bowl. He's going to bowl maybe 1 or 2 overs in the power play and then overs in the middle. Ashwin is more than capable of doing that, and he gives you the depth in the batting that you're looking for. So, to me, Ashwin at 8 with his overs is more valuable than Shardul Thakur would be.
All right,
just a quick point on that.
Jasprit Bumrah. Yes, let me go to you, Sanjay. You have something to add on Tom's point on Ashwin.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, a third spinner in the playing 11 would be too much of spin, and I don't see pitches being rank turners for the World Cup. Come the World Cup, there's a lot of care and a lot of pampering that's done of the surface, and you'll generally see belters, for the World Cup. If Ashwin is coming in, he has to replace one of the 2 spinners in the side, because then your seam bowling looks pretty thin. And come flat pitches and some of the smaller grounds, I know spinners can be game changers in the middle, but the comfort and the security that you need as captain is given by good seamers. And if Ashwin comes in, then you're just looking at Hardik Pandya as a 3rd or a 4th seamer in the side, so a 3rd seamer in the side. So I don't mind Ashwin coming into the scheme of things, provided he can replace one of the 2 spinners, which is Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav. Otherwise, you'd rather have some depth in seam.
Never know. Yeah, you never know with the way injuries seem to follow this Indian team. If something happens midway through a tournament, you've got a senior experienced spinner you can call upon. But Sanjay Manjrekar makes the point. It'll have to be in place of one of the spin bowling all-rounders. And that's because of the predicament India find their seamers in. It looks good on paper, Sanjay, doesn't it? Shami, Siraj and Bumrah. Jasprit Bumrah back. We were all waiting to see how he goes in 50-over cricket. Unfortunately, didn't get a bowl in the game against Pakistan and had to fly home. We, of course, congratulate Jasprit, Sanjana and the entire Bumrah family as they get their first child in the household. But we still haven't seen Bumrah as much. Now, do you sense somewhere the Indian team is concerned with the return of Siraj and Shami after a fair bit of time from one-day cricket, Bumrah not having bowled 10 overs a lot too, that's why Shardul Thakur would also add a little more to them, that their seam bowling isn't as match ready as they'd like before a World Cup.
Yes, and you could see that in the post-match interview that Rohit Sharma gave, that he still feels, he's not quite there. And unfortunately, this tournament, the Asia Cup here in Sri Lanka, you haven't had the full game that would have allowed a little more exposure to both the batters and the seam bowler. But there's plenty of matches to come. There's going to be 3 one-day internationals against Australia. So by the time the World Cup starts, I think he'll be pretty comfortable, Rohit Sharma, with the amount of exposure his seam bowlers have got. Just a quick point, Mohammad Shami, I feel in the playing 11, come the first match, should be playing, because we've seen in this Asia Cup as well how the new ball can, make an impact. If you've got good quality bowlers bowling with the new ball and you get 2 or 3 early wickets, you have such a huge advantage. And Bumrah is known to be a good bowler. He's a fantastic bowler, but he's not your go-to new ball wicket-taking bowler like a Shaheen Afridi. And all the more reason you need to play somebody like a Shami in the team.
All right, now let's just have a look at how India kickstart their World Cup campaign, and so much rests, you think, on their opening game in Chennai against Australia. Keep an eye on the venues too, to try and just revisit your knowledge of local conditions when India played the Chepauk, then at the Kotla against Afghanistan, the big grandstand fixture against Pakistan at Ahmedabad, and that'll be no easy game looking at what we saw even in the first game of the Asia Cup. Bangladesh in Pune, New Zealand up north in Dharamshala, then they've got England in Lucknow. What a unique fixture that promises to be. Sri Lanka and Mumbai, a revisit of the 2011 World Cup final before they wrap up their league stage campaign against South Africa and Netherlands in Kolkata and Bengaluru, respectively. They also do have the luxury not just of 3 to possibly 4 Asia Cup games, but also the Australia bilaterals that are going to be held just before the World Cup. And speaking of Australia, they've announced their squad they're ready to go to. Let's just find out a little bit more.
You look back at the last 3 World Cups and the 3 host nations have won, so you'd think, them playing at home.
I think that's the beauty of it, playing on different surfaces, and we're going to have to adapt accordingly to whatever surface we play on. Obviously some wickets spin a bit, some are a bit more skiddy and come on, so the scores might be bigger.
The semi-final we played in 2015, it was more Indian fans than Australian packing out the SCG. We expect that to be the same at Chennai. It's not something that's going to shock us at all.
We won the last one-day game at Chennai in the series, so World Cups are different, the pressures of it all, and it's going to be a tremendous game.
We've had some great great series with India. We meet again in the World Cup in India, so what a way to start! Exciting. Everyone's looking forward to it.
Well, that elusive World Cup trophy hasn't spent as much time in any part of the world as it has in Tom Moody's. 5-time champions, they've got some quality all-rounders, semi-finalists at the last World Cup, Tom. And as we just have a look at the provisional squad announced by Australia, now I just want to get your thoughts on this. Pat Cummins, of course, is going to lead that side. Lots of all-round options. Just take me through that and give me the key takeaways for you. 3, of course, from this list will have to be omitted. That's a list of 18 that they'll have to trim to 15. Tom?
Yeah, I think Australia have got a very, very good squad to pick from. They'll, as you mentioned, they'll trim 3 of them. But to me, the strength of Australia is the experience of the batting. With Warner at the age of 36, and the record he's got in World Cup cricket is quite phenomenal. I think he averages above 60 in World Cup cricket. You got Smith, obviously, at the top of the order. You got Maxwell, that's been around for a long time, and the seasoned all-rounders in Stoinis and Marsh. So to me, Australia's strength is, just coming back to a point that Sanjay mentioned, with the new ball, is Hazelwood, Stark and Cummins. I think they're going to play a significant role. The quality of that pace bowling attack with the new ball in the power play, and also the experience in their batting, and the luxury of the depth, the quality of their all-rounders, and all those all-rounders seem to be in good form. The only question mark for Australia is, from what I'm hearing, is Maxwell and his fitness, because of his injury that he sustained about 12 months ago with a broken leg.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what the update on that is. Sanjay, our good friend Ajit Agarkar, who we'll hear from in a little while, always says that the discussion in the team around him, and maybe in yours too, was if you want to win a World Cup, you have to beat Australia at some point. India are going to have that chance at their very first game at the Chepauk. These are 5-time champions. They beat India in a bilateral series just prior to the IPL. That's not something teams tend to do. India have such a good record at home. Just set up that fixture for me and how important it is for India to get that first win and the kind of challenge Australia will pose.
We just had a look at the squad, and it looks a fantastic squad. It's just a reminder to Indian fans as well watching this show that these are the kind of oppositions India will get. I couldn't find a weakness there in that squad. And the thing to like about the Australian squad is they've got 3 batters there in Mitchell Marsh, Cameron Green and Glenn Maxwell, who will turn in the important overs. And if you look at World Cup champs over the years, it's always been a team that has had batters that will play on one discipline of batting but could also bowl in the few overs. And that's been one important sort of secret recipe to winning world titles. India won it through Suresh Raina, Yuvraj Singh, bowling crucial overs in the middle. So Australia is going to be a tough opposition. I'm glad India playing them right at the start. But India's issue is not really qualifying for the final stages of a World Cup. That they will do. They're good enough side to win against all odds. It's about the big night come the semis and finals.
Tom, Australia are WTC champions. They won a T20 World Cup in between the last 2 50-over World Cups. You won 5 already. You still keen on another one?
I think there's an appetite, Ronak. There's always an appetite when it comes to World Cups. I think every playing nation competing in World Cups, whether it's 50 over or 20 over, are very proud of their performances. And if you achieve the ultimate, the holy grail of actually lifting the World Cup, it's a very special moment, not only for the players but for the fans and the country. Interesting to see that first game in Chennai. I remember my first World Cup in 1987. The very first game of Australia's campaign was against India in then called Madras in Chennai, and we had an unbelievable match in that particular contest that we won by the thinnest of margins, and that really set off our campaign in a campaign that we weren't expected to win.
All right, well, we're just discussing World Cups, what they mean, the hunger for them. India have had to wait 12 years for one. Will that wait end at home? The trend certainly is that teams at home tend to win World Cups, certainly since MS in Mumbai in 2011, then 2015 for Australia, England, and Rohit Sharma is there. So in just a few moments from now, from Sri Lanka, the Indian captain and the chairman of selectors, Ajit Agarkar, will reveal all and confirm India's final 15. We are going to have